Mridangaya namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so today I thought we'd start with introducing the concept of using a metronome. I did practice a lot with a metronome for quite a while. Can't say I always use it. Obviously, in kirtan, a lot of people are not, keeping time, and cartel players are going faster, the singer's going slower, faster, the drums are trying to drag or speed up or whatever they're doing. So I wouldn't say like expecting to learn and play like a professional musician where you're always on beat and keeping the right tempo is necessarily even a good thing for kirtan in a lot of ways. It would be if everyone was on the same page, but we're not. But certainly for practicing, and because you're a percussion instrument and because you are maintaining, generally the tempo and speed of the kirtan, then it's definitely a good idea to get familiar with the metronome. And also just looking at a metronome, I mean, all the mantras are going to be written in Taal now, so that makes it easier. But you can at least see where each part of the mantra fits and where your, jaws and tas and everything should go. And then you can kind of get more familiar with speeding up and slowing down and how to use the metronome and extend the mantras and compress them so you're playing faster or slower. So we'll just go over this quickly just as a little demonstration. The ideal speed to get up to for tere, keta and stuff like that is around 180. So that sounds like this. So each time you hear that click, you should be playing a full tere, keta, all four on each beat. Tere, keta, I can't even say it that fast, but I can play it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, each one of those will be tere, keta. So we'll break it down so it's slower. So you can go like te, re, te, ta, so that you've broken it down. So you're only playing on the first, and then the 3 are open spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Then you can increase it. Tere, keta, tere, keta. Bum, 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 bum. Then you can speed it up to the next speed. So now you're going to go tere on each beat. Tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta. And then the next speed after that is the full tere, keta on each one. Tere, so tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta. Tere, keta, tere, keta. So that's the demonstration with the metronome. You can get any free metronome on your phone. That's set to 180. So we'll go over this looking at that. So first speed, te, re, ke, ta, te, re, ke, no wait, te, re, ke, ta, te, re, ke, ta, te, re, ke, ta. So that's on the 1 and the 3. And next speed, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere. That's the 4th speed. So that's the ideal speed to come up so that you can play a lot of the mantras. And if your hand isn't perfect and you're cheating a little bit, it's okay. But just trying to come up to that speed, but also using those slow speeds will continue to reprogram your hand so that, as you try to play too fast, you can build a lot of bad habits, and, a lot of things will not be done correctly because you're trying to cheat because you don't have enough speed. And you can always, make your hands better, and my hands aren't that great either, and, I wish they were better in a lot of ways. But just constantly reprogramming te, re, and just finding those speeds and then building up to it, over the years, eventually, all of a sudden, it becomes easier and easier and easier. Okay, so last class we looked at a bunch of different things. I think the last mantra we ended on was Dere Gena, tere, keta. So now we're going to start combining. Most of this class is going to be in Das Pahira because we already covered quite a few ways of playing these in Tisra Jati last time, and also in Pahira Taal. So we'll just get through these for some hand practice. So now we're going to go Dere Gena, before we went Dere Gena, tere, keta, or we went Dere Gena. So now instead of Dere Gena or Dere Gena tere keta for 4, Dere Gena or Dere Gena tere keta. Now we're going Dere Gena. So it's a little different technique, but the same, hand practice, but we're just showing it in different ways. So now you're going Dere Gena, and now Dere Gena. So we've added in a new technique and then an old technique to make 8, so you can play Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Dere Gena, Dere Gena. That's the guru, open. I tuned my Mridanga today, so it sounds better. Then tere keta, tere keta. Guru, Dere Gena, tere keta. Lagu, tere keta. Always, you have the open, corresponding closed. So, Dere Gena, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See, we've got a looseness in his arm, the shoulder, the wrist. We're not like going, not this stiffness. Yes, a lot of people are playing like, we don't want that. You need your hand to be very loose and elastic. So you just almost want you want to twist the wrist, but it's, like kind of dropping and twisting at the same time. So it's like your hand's almost kind of dead. It's just like, Dere Gena. The fingers you try to keep loose. I do get some tension in them, and especially if your fingers are really splayed out, or if you've been playing a Mridanga a long time and you're used to just playing with 3 fingers and 1 finger. A lot of people, they're just kind of set in this style, and it is very hard to keep the 4 fingers like completely closed and not have tension and everything. But you do want to make sure that you're not starting to engage and connect these too much. So, and then a lot of people will just hit the ta with the 1 finger when they're going tere keta. So this finger kind of separates. You want to make sure that you're getting that wrist twist and then the ability to come back with as much of your whole hand as possible. without too much kind of separation. You want the thumb and the four fingers to be loose, but you don't want to be trying to isolate that index finger too much. There are a lot of times where you're playing for thumb and fingers, and that's a different technique, and obviously it will kind of splay out more than usual in those circumstances. But after you've trained your technique, then it will come back for the rest of your mantra into four fingers and thumb. So we'll go through this once more. Dere Gena. Remember, Dere is four fingers closed. Ge open, hand loose at the top. Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere 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 Gena. Dere 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 Keta. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare So that's just showing it in two different speeds. You can use it as a long D high there, where you have a different section at the start, and then we've just done when it's in double speed. Babu teaches us as well, playing mantras partly in double speed, partly in single speed. So we did double speed at the start, and then we just threw in a little D high at the end. Dere keta ja, dere keta ja, dere keta ja. I like to show how everything can be used in kirtan rather than just practicing things with no purpose. And we could take this mantra and break it up and make it in the, different flashy D highs and stuff like that. And certainly we'll get into that more later. But just so you know, it does have a purpose, and there's loads of mantras where you have to go this way fast and other ways fast, this way first and up. So all this twisting really helps to progress your Mridanga playing. Dere Gena. Okay, so taking this to the next level. It's cold in my room. Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere 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 Gena. So we just learned that. Dere Gena. Now, the whole second piece is just going to be Dere Genas. So then Dere 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 Gena. So if I'm correct, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deres and a gena to equal 8. We're in Catur Jati, we're in Pahira Taal, and this can also be used in kirtan. So let's see. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare So that is good. I would suggest, a lot of people will just practice these. For starters, always say Dere Gena, always say the bowls, the mantras, even if you're not singing to Hare Krishna, so always say Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere Dere. Never play without speaking, because you want to teach yourself to be able to speak while you're playing Mridanga. If you're not able to speak and sing Hare Krishna while you're playing Mridanga, it's better to put the Mridanga down and just clap your hands and chant Hare Krishna, because you're in kirtan, you're doing congregational chanting, you're supposed to be chanting, and a lot of kirtan leaders, if they're strict about things, will even stop you from playing Mridanga if you're not chanting while you're playing. If you make up a lot of your own mantras, if you're not familiar with Taal, you're not familiar with musical theory, you can be a great Mridanga player, but most likely you won't be able to sing and play at the same time. So we were going Dere Gena. So then the lagu of that, tere keta, tere 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 keta, tere keta, tere 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 here you're like the wrist is loose down and up, because we now have more, we're learning an up and down rather than just straight on twisting K and then the ta. Now we're learning to make the wrist loose in this direction rather than just coming down and then coming back for the ta. So now we've got Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere 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 Gena. Now loosening the wrist more. Dere 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 Gena. Dere 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 Gena. So a little faster. I'm not warmed up. I don't prepare for these classes, so it's not edited. It's just how it is. Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere 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 Gena. Okay. No, missed a ta, but we'll try once more. Close enough for not practicing. And let's see here. So the next mantra is interesting because we're still using tere keta, but we're starting to mix jatis, which is something that you see a lot in what people call relas, or fingering mantras, or all the mantras that a lot of the kids like in ISKCON, where you're using all these types and they come later on. But you have to learn first how to mix them and with your thumb and forefinger so that you're prepared to use your fingers in the proper way. And also the concept of mixing jatis in order to create a larger scope for your composition. So we're going tere keta, which we've learned twice, so that's 6, and then chucking a tere keta on at the end to make 8. So you're in das Pahira Taal, but we're using 2 Tisra Jatis and a tere keta. And there's different ways of looking at this. We mix, 5s and 3s and stuff. So let's think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, you could look at it as a Tisra Jati and 5 on the end as well. So there's just different ways of categorizing it. But for the best way of understanding mixing jatis for this, I would definitely say that we're looking at 2 Tisra Jatis and then 1 Catur, which is the tere keta at the end. Tere tere keta, tere tere keta, tere keta. Tere tere keta, tere tere keta, tere keta. Tere tere keta, tere tere keta, tere keta. 1. So we've got tere tere keta 3, tere tere keta 6, tere keta 8. So this can be used in kirtan as well. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then you've got the guru, or the open side, so that becomes Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere Gena. So that's a nice practice mantra. You can speak it, try to chant Hare Krishna always. I definitely recommend taking each mantra, trying to learn it first, then speak it and play it at the same time, and then attempt chanting Hare Krishna, even if it's really slow, like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. It's a lot harder to sing and chant when you're mixing certain styles of jatis, because it starts to bend the tal, where you're not working in blocks of 4 that you can evenly space and feel where the beat is, so the beat tends to blur in between the lines, kind of. So that's why you really need to be strong on your tal and your understanding of phrasing, so that when you start and you stop at the end of the 8 that you're playing, you don't get lost and kind of, come out of tal. What's another thing to say here? So tere. So this is like playing tere, tere, keta, tere, and then tere, keta, almost. Tere, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta. Yeah, so if you break it up in the idea of 4, you've got tere, tere, keta, tere, and then tere, keta, tere, keta. Tere, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta. So you can look at it like that too in phrasing. Tere, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta. I mean, it starts to sound the same, but just understanding that the tal is on that tere, tere, keta, tere. Now the new tal, tere, keta, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta. So if you can find those when you're playing really fast, obviously it's kind of impossible to really close in on that second tere keta. If you're extremely advanced and you have an immense amount of speed, then you can, emphasize these better and better as you get better, like, quicker with your hand speed. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say when you start mixing jatis here and seeing how you're playing tere keta, tere keta, or you can look at it as tere keta, tere keta. And when you're writing in tal, I mean, technically speaking, the mantra is tere keta, tere keta, because you're breaking it up into the 4. But when you're looking in terms of jatis, you've got tere keta as 1, tere keta as 2, and tere keta. But if you try to put the emphasis on tere keta, tere keta, then you break the tal, because you're putting too much emphasis in the middle and breaking it. So you always need to be aware that it's tere keta, tere keta, tere keta. That second tere is the start of your tere keta, tere keta, tere keta. Oh, I see here. Okay, so there's a lot to this one. So that's that. So then we've got Dere Gena, Dere Gena. Now, do I want to show that today? So the second part of this mantra now is introducing a new technique. I guess we'll do it. I didn't realize this one had this in it. So we'll look at the lagu first. So tere keta, tere keta, tere keta. Now kere keta, kere keta, tere keta. That's a new technique. So you start on the K, 5 fingers plus thumb, or 4 fingers and the thumb on the bottom. And this is called an empty hit. So as you're hitting the K, your hand opens like this. K. And this sets you up for hitting the re. So kere. Now you don't get this re if you're trying to come from any different position and you don't get the speed necessary, because your hand always wants to be twisting one way or another. So this empty hit is very important. So we're going K, re, K, re, K, re, So if we're in tere, keta, so say we're here, if I want to go into this new style of playing, as you hit the K, tere, keta, K, the hand opens. You want to be able to see kind of the whole hand twist like this, kind of sitting on the bottom of the chakra. So the bottom of the Mridanga here in this ring. Come from here, K, K. Then tere, K, re, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, ke, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta. This is super important, probably. I would say this is probably used the most often amongst the more advanced mantras than even learning, Da Guru Gurs or any of the up and downs. Your wrist actually is able to move faster this way, twisting. So starting from this way, Gena, 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 Gena. So learning this technique is really important because you won't be able to play much else after if you don't get this. And a lot of the faster compositional mantras later on all require this specific technique. So tere, 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 keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta. Position here. Try to twist your hand as much as you can down. And then the guru, obviously, which comes first, but we haven't covered because always the guru I find is more difficult, more advanced for people to learn than Ks. So Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Dere Gena, Gere, Dere Gena, Gere, Dere Gena, Dere Gena. I think we're gonna make this one so you can do it different ways, but Gere, Dere Gena, Gere, Dere Gena, Dere Gena. Tere Gena, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta. Bablu teaches Dere Gena, but we're going to go Tere Gena. You'll see all the mantras. If you want to make it even more advanced, you can go Gere, Tere, Gena, Gere, Tere, Gena, Tere, Gena, as you get faster. So you get that extra punch. But a lot of the time, when you're just starting, it's Tere Gena. Now there's a lot to be said about this because it's difficult. The twisting part is not so hard once you get the hang of it. Gere, tere, gena, gere, tere, gena. But then coming from there and then quickly, so you're going from the ta, tere, gena. And that ta doesn't happen and you end up playing with your single finger if you're not twisting the wrist properly. So if you're not twisting from the wrist and getting that open space, so gere, tere, gena, gere, tere, and if you're not twisting from the wrist and opening up the hand, it can't come in for that ta quick enough. And you'll find that your hand closes and you'll come like here and then end up using your 3 fingers even. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong with this, and it's probably the most important practice mantra and exercise to get right now, else everything else doesn't work. And obviously I didn't get any of this stuff right when I started, and I'm still having to work through those bad habits, work through my hand, and constantly retool and rework things. But it works well enough for now, and it's a constant process, and you can always get better. A lot of people think like they've learned Mridanga or they're good enough, but you should always be striving to improve. Even one tiny little thing about your playing is an offering to Krishna. Every time you sit down and practice or play, let's try to make one little thing better, whatever that's going to be for the day. So let's go over this once more. This is a lot here. Tere, tere, keta, tere, tere, keta, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta, kere, tere, keta. Tere, tere, gena, tere, tere, gena, tere, gena, kere, tere, gena, kere, tere, gena. So that's the kind of speed that you want to get up to. And you can practice it really, really slow too. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Okay, well, I definitely think that's enough for today. I'll write everything out, put it in the description, and yeah. All right, Hare Krishna.